We got a good chance this week moving into 2 regional opponents.
Yep.
These are just must-wins, have to go get them. So coming off the road, I think we got back at 8 in the morning on Sunday, and then looking to do the same thing again this week.
These are the kind of moments that we want to have our program be in, yearly. So, this is a great first step. We got to continue to learn and grow, and so that way, next year, the following year, and so on and so forth, this is kind of that standard and this is that expectation.
I think our mentality has to shift now that we're in postseason to more of a 0-0 mentality. Everyone has a clean slate. We're not playing for seeding anymore,
Yep.
So we have to definitely not compare how we did last time to them, how they've been playing. Postseason can have some crazy runs, have some Cinderella stories, and we don't want to be on the losing end of that story.
Both are going to be formidable opponents. Both are extremely well coached, have a lot of talent, and have guys on their roster that can beat you if you're not ready to go.
Every position out there right now is an open competition.
Yeah.
Because when you're 4-7, you have to uncover everything, and you have to find, you got to find out, who's the best to put in those positions.
You're listening to the Griffin Sports Insider Podcast, giving you an in-depth look at Missouri Western athletics with interviews, features, game broadcasts, and more. Here's your host, Tommy Rezach.
Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Monday again on a November 18th, and we're back for a live edition of the Griffin Sports Insider Podcast from Hi-Ho Bar and Grill here in downtown St. Joseph. I'm Tommy Rezach, your voice of the Griffins, director of broadcasting at Missouri Western, coming off of a busy weekend and looking forward to another busy week ahead here in Griffin athletics. Talking basketball and talking fall sports. Another fall sport and football did wrap up their season, but we got postseason on our minds here today as Missouri Western women's soccer tonight at 6 o'clock Central Time will learn their NCAA tournament fate. That watch party going on tonight at 6 o'clock at the Rogers Pharmacy Hall of Fame room at Spratt Stadium if you want to come hang out with us and see where we're going. We might be hosting. There's a good chance Missouri Western will be hosting a first-round NCAA tournament regional match, but we'll find out officially here tonight at 6 o'clock and talk to Coach Jake Plocher about that. And what's more, Missouri Western volleyball, they're gearing up for postseason, the MIAA volleyball tournament for a 3rd consecutive year in our city. Just off campus, though, downtown Civic Arena. The St. Joseph Sports Commission hosting that great event. Missouri Western volleyball, they learned their tournament route on Saturday night. They'll take on Central Missouri this Thursday at high noon from Civic Arena in downtown St. Joseph. As for winter sports basketball, both teams were on the road in non-conference action this past weekend. Men's basketball taking on Maryville University Saturday and scoring a 65-57 win. And men's basketball winners of 4 straight, off to a 4-1 start. They get to play back at home this tomorrow night, Tuesday at 7 o'clock against the Rockhurst Hawks, our friends from Kansas City in the Great Lakes Valley Conference. 7 o'clock tip from the Missouri Western Fieldhouse tomorrow night. Men's basketball also at Arkansas Tech in Russellville, Arkansas, Friday at 7 o'clock. Big regional game there for the men. Women's basketball, they were in Pueblo, Colorado over the weekend. Took on Colorado Christian and Colorado State Pueblo. 79-70 loss to Christian on Friday, and then 75-61 the result against CSU Pueblo on Saturday. Women's basketball 2-2, and they've got 2 big opportunities, regional opportunities on the road this week at Concordia St. Paul in the Twin Cities. That's Wednesday night, 6 o'clock. And the following night, they go up to the Fargo-Moorhead metro area to take on Minnesota State Moorhead Thursday night at 6 o'clock. Coach Ashton Feldhaus will join us in the next segment to talk about all of that. So I think that pretty much covers it this week. We've got several things going on. Volleyball is, at the Civic Arena, so we get to see that. Soccer, like I said, it's not official yet. There's a good chance we'll be hosting that NCAA regional game because the top 2 seeds in the region in women's soccer at this level host that opening round. So we'll kind of see what happens there. Coach Tyler Fenwick will join us to put a bow on the 2024 football season. How great for the 18 seniors to go out winners, 31-16 against Quincy University. Not the prettiest football game you'll ever see, if you look at the turnovers and the penalties, but what was beautiful was over 300 yards rushing, over 500 yards of offense, and a second half shutout. So Coach Fenwick will be along a little bit later on in the program. So let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll kick things off with women's basketball. Coach Feldhaus, after a long trip to Colorado, she'll join us to recap those 2 games and look ahead to a big week on the road for her team. So that's coming up. Glad you're with us. It's the Griffin Sports Insider Podcast on the Griffin Sports Network. Back in 1 minute. Continuing from High Hope Bar and Grill on the Griffin Sports Insider Podcast, off and rolling on this Monday. I'm Tommy Rezach as we start things off with women's basketball. Missouri Western just getting off the road. Long trip out to Pueblo, Colorado in the Rocky Mountains for a couple of games against RMAC teams in the state of Colorado. Colorado Christian on Friday, and then CSU Pueblo, the host of the event over the weekend. The Colorado State Pueblo Thunderwolves played Missouri Western on Saturday. A couple of losses for the Griffs, but not all is lost. Certainly there were good moments, good quarters, good performances. A couple of games where the Griffins did lead at halftime in each one, but Coach, I know probably not the full 4 quarters that you'd like. Both of those games, second half scoring droughts and things that led to things getting out of hand. And also you were telling me, that's altitude. That's a big altitude difference playing in the mountains. But just looking back on these 2 games, just overall takeaways from the weekend.
Yeah, obviously it didn't go how we wanted it to, but altitude played a part in it, but that wasn't the entire thing.
Yeah.
You mentioned like shooting droughts, and we're going to have to find ways to win as a team when the 3 ball isn't going in, because we try to shoot 35 plus a game, and I think the first game we did, we scored 70 points, and when you score 70 points, it's enough to win a basketball game. We just didn't defend. We got absolutely just obliterated on the glass, and it looked like we were kind of in slow motion. So first game, just thought we got outworked, out-hustled a little bit, because I thought we did enough to win the game. I think we shot 39% from 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
So we did enough there offensively. 70 points is enough. It was defense. I didn't think we defended well at all. And then when you get out-rebounded 13 plus, and I think they had 13 second chance points to our 0. We only had 3 total offensive rebounds. That's you can't win a basketball game like that. So from the first game, we did enough offensively to win, but not enough defense and rebounding, which we have just absolutely talked about the past week and a half, because it's the same story at the Civic, right? And then the second game, we rebounded a lot better, which really Pueblo was a much better rebounding team. We go in at the half, we're up 12 on the boards, and we're up, right? And, of course, they're a great team. They finally had their whole crew back. When they played in Texas, they were missing 3 kids. So they have their full roster, and they're going to be great in the RMAC. And then they have their first team. She'll be probably player of the year in their post player. But we did what we had to do in the first half. We tempered her down. We got the lead, and we weren't shooting well, but we were leading on the boards. And then it was the tale of like putting 2 halves together. Again, I thought we let some balls that hit, we're going up to get rebounds, and people are knocking it out of our hands. It's like a kind of a toughness issue. And then again, we're looking at our kids, and they're struggling to breathe. I'm like, hey, we can't do anything for you. You got to kind of gut this one out, and we just didn't. But I will say this, they were great this morning, right? And that's usually the case. You come off 2 losses, everyone's they're locked in. But we got a good chance this week moving into 2 regional opponents.
Yep.
These are just must-wins, have to go get them. So coming off the road, I think we got back at 8 in the morning on Sunday, and then looking to do the same thing again this week.
Yeah, I know in Friday's game, 2 free throws played a big part of that. Colorado Christian getting to the line 24 times, making 20 of them. And then, Saturday up 32-28 at the half, and Matilda Soderlund, career-high 22 points in that loss to CSU Pueblo. But Alicia Little, who you mentioned, CSU Pueblo, very deceiving. They were 0-2 going in, but like us, that was a team getting preseason votes. They were picked really high in the RMAC, had a pretty good year last year, and Alicia Little dropped a double-double for the Thunderwolves against Missouri Western. It was a big second half on Saturday for CSU Pueblo. Well, just getting right down to it, these regional contests, Concordia St. Paul, Wednesday at 6, and then very next night, go a little further north to Moorhead, Minnesota State Moorhead, Thursday night at 6. And Concordia St. Paul, that's a team we played at Civic last year, got a nice win against them, but CSP off to a great start right now at 4-0. And then you have Minnesota Moorhead at 0-3. And you mentioned it, regional opponents. We beat a couple of teams from this conference, the NSIC, the weekend prior. And I know you get back on the road tomorrow, so what does this next 24 to 48 hours look like?
Well, we spent all day, Coach and I did yesterday, kind of getting stuff ready for this first game, and then we'll spend all day this evening doing things for Moorhead, because you don't have any turnaround time when you're going back-to-back. But, you mentioned it. Concordia is off to 4-0. They've beat two opponents, good opponents picked ahead of us in our conference. So they're kind of hit a streak. It's the same team from last year. They just added a point guard. They got a point guard off the portal, and she's dynamic. I think she averages 8 assists and 20 points, 8 assists. So it'll be a great matchup for Alyssa, and it's a must-win for us. It is, and I do think we can. We match up well with them. There's things we can do to slow them down because they push the pace just like we do. But we got to help ourselves in some shooting categories, be it the threes, but the free throw line, you mentioned it. We only went there 10 times against Colorado Christian, but we hit 5 of them.
Yep.
When you go 5 of 10 from the free throw line, especially on the road, you don't deserve to win a basketball game. So some of that stuff we have to fix as soon as really Wednesday, I guess is a good way to put it. And then going to Moorhead next, which, again, they're off to a slow start. But as you know, anything in this region, when you're on the road, they're all tough ones, I think.
That's a tough league. That's where the national champion came out of, Minnesota State in the NSIC. You talk of free throws. It was frustrating because you hit 11 of 12 on Saturday, but most of that was in the first half, so that's probably something that's so frustrating. It's like the percentage goes up, but then the opportunities go down the stretch.
Yeah, and we've talked about it all morning because we practiced this morning, but attacking the basket. People are going through our chest, going aggressively, and we're kind of the fadeaway team right now. So really being the aggressor, dictating on both ends of the basketball court, we've got to get better at. And again, we've got a bunch of players who haven't played significant minutes like they're playing now. So we're going to be a work in progress, but I'd like to get W's while we're still a work in progress. So that's what we're going to look forward to this weekend.
Yeah, getting W's in region certainly important as well. So Wednesday at 6, Thursday at 6, Concordia St. Paul first, Minnesota State Moorhead Thursday at 6 o'clock. As for broadcast information, I would tell you to stay tuned to GoGriffins.com with all the things that we're juggling this week at home and away. We'll see what happens, but at the very least, I know the NSIC will provide a stream for those games so you can watch the Griffins when they're away from home. That's the head coach, Ashton Feldhaus. Coach, thanks so much. Good luck.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, there you go. As women's basketball goes back on the road, going from Colorado this past weekend to now Minnesota for a couple of in-region non-conference games in the midweek. Let's take a break. We'll shift back to some fall sports. We'll talk women's soccer with Jake Plocher. Talking of big things we're juggling this week. Women's soccer, we'll find out where they stand in the NCAA Central Region Tournament. Very exciting time for this program still. Coach Plocher will break it down for us when we return. It's the Griffin Sports Insider Podcast from Hi-Ho Bar and Grill on the Griffin Sports Network. We are back on the Griffin Sports Insider Podcast from Hi-Ho Bar and Grill in St. Joseph. I'm Tommy Rezonch as we talk women's soccer now. Missouri Western coming off of their appearance in the MIAA tournament semifinals this past Thursday on a pretty pleasant day, a little windy day in Wichita, Kansas for the semifinals against eventual MIAA tournament champ Central Missouri. The Jennies winning there 2-0, but of course we'll talk about the news what will happen later today, the NCAA tournament selection show coming up. But Coach Plocher, just starting with that match on Thursday, we know the Jennies these last 10-plus years, that's a program that's been built for the postseason. They would go on to kind of in a somewhat unexpected fashion, right? UCO knocks off Washburn. They beat UCO Saturday to hoist the trophy. But in that match Thursday, they apply a lot of pressure early on. Goal early in the first, goal early in the second. Second half, you had some opportunities to get back in there, but their defense held up. I know that was not the way you wanted it to end, but just overall thoughts on how Thursday went down.
Yeah, we talked about it that we were going to get their best. That's what they're built. It's in their DNA. We had a couple lapses to start the first half and then start the second half, and they made us pay. Hopefully it's a good learning moment and opportunity to understand again what it takes, being locked in, being dialed in for those 90 minutes to be able to come out and perform. We were able to create some chances, but at the end of the day, with the result what it was, we can try to look at it glass half full. Okay, now it gave us a few more days of some rest and recovery, and then we'll see what happens this evening, and go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. 6 o'clock Central is this selection show, and the regional rankings as of this past week had Missouri Western still in the top spot, Washburn the 2, Central Missouri the 3, Mankato the 4. So it's really amongst those top 4 of who's going to host and all of that. So we'll find out tonight at 6 o'clock. But regardless of the when and where, Coach, and who the opponent is, first NCAA tournament berth since 2017. Obviously, we've been kind of building toward this for a while now, but still a very exciting and historic time for this program.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've talked about as a program, these are the kind of moments that we want to have our program be in, yearly. So, this is a great first step. We got to continue to learn and grow, and so that way, next year, the following year, and so on and so forth, this is kind of that standard and this is that expectation. And, as we continue to play in these type of games and atmospheres that we're more accustomed to it, and it's another game. We're playing the game, not the moment, and hopefully we'll be prepared for the first round. And hey, if we're on the road, doesn't matter. If we're at home, doesn't matter. They said you want a chance, and regardless of what and who we play, we're going to come out and give it our best, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, you talk about building for the future, tripling the win total from last year to this, a terrific step in the right direction in the future, looking bright. And I guess just the last thing, we've talked a lot about the seniors. We honored them on their senior day a couple weeks ago, and got the the bonus home match against Nebraska Kearney last weekend. But particularly for your seniors, like a Keely Krunenberg, like a Lauren Nyland, what does this run right now mean for them in particular?
Again, for our senior group, for that upperclassmen group who have been through a lot of change, to be able to be, like I said, in this position, it's a testament to them and their commitment and their buy-in and effort that they've put into the program. So, yes, no one's at 100% right now, and we're late into the season, but again, we're potentially going to be able to be one of the 54 teams remaining, and so it's one of those where we get to. It's not like we have to. We get to, and we have to kind of make sure we don't lose sight of that and continue to enjoy these moments and give it our best.
Absolutely. So we'll find out tonight, Monday at 6 o'clock. NCAA.com will have the live stream of that selection show, and you can watch it with us. Watch it together tonight from the Rogers Pharmacy Hall of Fame room, second floor of the press box at Spratt Stadium. So come out and mingle and celebrate with this team as they get to find out their NCAA tournament fate. Not very few teams, honestly, when you look at the grand scheme, get to do this. So a great opportunity for this program. Coach Plocher, thanks for the time, and we'll see you down there tonight.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right, there you go. Jake Plocher joining us on the GSI Podcast. NCAA tournament bound, winning an MIAA tournament match. That's not an easy thing to do. Only the top 8 get into that. So great stuff still for a team that's 15-2-3. We'll take a break. We'll talk about another Missouri Western team that's postseason bound and beginning postseason play this week. That's volleyball. A nice win on Senior Day this past Friday, and looking to build on that as they face the Jennies of Central Missouri this Thursday at Civic Arena. Jessica Fye will talk about it with us next on the GSI Podcast from Hi-Ho Bar and Grill. We're back on the GSI Podcast from Hi-Ho Bar and Grill in St. Joseph. I'm Tommy Rezach talking Missouri Western volleyball now. A volleyball team that has secured the number 2 seed in the MIAA tournament after a final weekend at home against 2 pretty good teams, Nebraska Kearney on Thursday and then Fort Hays State, a team that ended up sneaking in to the MIAA tournament. That's who the Griffins played on Friday, played UNK Thursday. Coach Jessica Fye is here. And Coach, Thursday night, that was about as much fun as I've had watching volleyball at Looney, even though it didn't go our way. 3 sets to 2 high-level teams, literally the top 2 seeds in the conference going at it. You win in the first set and the third. UNK kind of ekes one out in the fourth. They get off to that hot start in the fifth and fend off a rally from you all, and they end that 5th set on a 3-0 run. And we talked about it afterwards. As much as it hurts to come up just shy to Kearney, the kind of the juggernaut of our conference, you still went blow for blow with the best team in the conference, one of the best in the country.
Yeah, I know it was an exciting match, but still disappointing. You know, it stings a little bit later than like the next day. I woke up pretty mad.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
Understand.
I was like proud of them the night of, like it is what it is. Like we have things to learn from. And the next morning, I was just like, damn it, we should have had it. So. We're getting to the point of season where those little plays really make all the difference, and we've been in a lot of situations like that. So as a coach, I'm kind of just looking for our team to finally respond and get through it rather than get conquered by it. So we need to see some turn of mentality in those tight moments against good teams. We need to be able to win those points. And just coming up short isn't going to get it done anymore. So we have to be able to get it done for the long haul.
24 kills for Taylor Russell against Nebraska Kearney. Career best 66 assists against Nessa Johnson. Got to say, watching her and Peyton Neff of Kearney kind of duel it out up front was so much fun. And then a double-double for Holly Hout Thursday. 11 kills, 19 digs. But a nice bounce back the very next night against Fort Hays State. Pretty dominant sweep, 25-19, 25-10, 25-15, and, of course, Senior Day for 4 terrific seniors. Emily Loy, though, the kill leader, 17 kills, swinging 455 on the night. And then senior Shelby Daniger coming off the bench to get that final kill to end it. No, that was emotional at the end. It always is, but 4 seniors that were, they were here when you got here and part of a pretty terrific turnaround these last couple of years. Yeah,
definitely. It was a great night, a great way to kind of send them off of Looney. But yeah, they've done so much for our program, and they've made all the difference. Obviously, they've built great relationships here because everyone was emotional having to do the senior day afterwards. So that's kind of what it's all about, is just building those relationships. And I'm happy for them that they have that outside of the volleyball memories too.
And to go 8-1 at home this year, a pretty remarkable feat right there. All right, MIAA tournament this week. We've known for a while that it's back in our city. This Thursday noon, quarterfinals against Central Missouri. So we're the 2 seed, they're the 7. We just swept the Jennies at home 10 days ago. They outlast Pitt State in 5 matches Saturday night. And UCM is the defending MIAA tournament champions, but obviously they're not quite where they're used to being, right? We're kind of used to being the 7 and they're the 2, so the roles are a little bit flipped. That's a young Jennies team, I know, but just like in women's soccer, this is a Jennies program that's used to success in the month of November, so you've seen them recently. How do you beat them a second time?
Yeah, I think our mentality has to shift now that we're in postseason to more of a 0-0 mentality. Everyone has a clean slate. We're not playing for seeding anymore, you know.
Yep.
So we have to definitely not compare how we did last time to them, how they've been playing. Postseason can have some crazy runs, have some Cinderella stories, and we don't want to be on the losing end of that story. So we're gonna have to play well. Like, Central has some players that could cause some issues for us. So we're going to have to do a good job defending them again, slowing them down. But, you know, we ultimately were trying to win 3 games in a row and 3 high-level games in a row. So I think Central Missouri provides us the right opportunity to get in that right mindset to where we have the respect for that program. They know that they're going to have to show up to play well. So I think it's a great kickoff to our mindset just for the whole weekend, is like, hey, we have to go play Central Missouri. They're a very well-respected program, so we have to get our minds right away, which is good.
In the winter, we'll face either Central Oklahoma the 3 or Emporia State the 6. I think that could be a very sneaky good match on Thursday at 2:30. Yeah. So should the Griffs get past the Gens, they would play either UCO or Emporia on Friday, with the championship match coming up on Saturday. And the MIAA will provide a stream, and then the Griffin Sports Network will be there with a radio broadcast as well throughout the week. So looking forward to it, Coach. Good luck this weekend. Congratulations on a great regular season.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
There you go. Jessica Fye, Missouri Western Volleyball, taking on the Jennies of Central Missouri here this coming Thursday. Noontime to get things started. First match of the week down there. Should be a great time. Let's talk men's basketball next. Will Martin will join us on the hot seat as Missouri Western beat Maryville. Not Maryville, Missouri, the Maryville Saints, Maryville University in St. Louis on Saturday, 65-57, as the Griffins get ready for a game against Rockhurst tomorrow and a game at Arkansas Tech Friday. We discuss it next on the GSI Podcast from Hi-Ho Bar and Grill. Continuing from Hi-Ho Bar and Grill on the Griffin Sports Insider Podcast as we talk men's basketball with head coach Will Martin. The Griffins off to another pretty good start, 4-1, extending their win streak to 4 games. They had 1 game this past week. It was across the state in the St. Louis area, taking on Maryville University, the Saints out of the Great Lakes Valley Conference. And at the end of the day, the Griffins win it 65-57, trailed by 5 at the half, 34-29, but Maryville held to just 9 of 24 shooting in the second half. Meanwhile, the Griffs shoot north of 52% on the night, 17 of 21 at the foul line, 3 guys in double figures. But Coach Martin, I know you're probably not, entirely satisfied with, the way things started, and I know the 3 ball didn't fall the way you wanted, but ultimately good response. You outscore them in the second half, 38-22. I mean, perhaps not the prettiest, but you got a nice win on the road there.
Yeah, I thought we played really bad, just to be transparent and honest with you. But we found a way. We came into half, we made a couple adjustments and challenged a couple guys, and I thought they came out and they played really hard. And I think that's important to have early in the season. And I told their guys that, this is a test that we were given that we have to dip back into later in the season, because you're going to be on the road in the MIAA. You're going to be down at half, and you're going to have to find a way together. And so I do think that we have a team that is solution-oriented and not problem-oriented. So, we're always searching for solutions together. We're trying to play tough and together in everything that we do, and I feel like they did that in the second half, and we really locked down defensively. Again, we made a couple adjustments, but nothing crazy, and the guys found a way.
Yeah, 65-57 again, the final there. And to hold Maryville 9 of 24 the second half, a great figure. And Zane Nelson continues his productive ways, 17 points. Justin Bubak has been a nice spark as well, 13 points, 6 of 7 shooting. But Zion Swader now, he's scored in double digits each of the last 4 games. He's had a fruitful career, right? Over 60 starts in his career, and talked about a lot, or at least some, in the preseason, that in this offense, in this system, you're relying on him a lot. He's relied upon to do a lot, whether that's facilitating, shooting, just being a leader. How have you seen him kind of embrace that and take that on now in his 4th year here?
Yeah, I mean, heavy lies the crown for a true point guard, and so that's been the maturation and evolution of Zion Swader, is really learning what it means to be a point guard. And a lot of times that means facilitating and getting your teammates open, putting guys in the right spots, and sacrificing a lot individually early, so then you can kind of let the game come to you. And that's hard. It's difficult, and he's done a great job this year. I thought that he took a major step last year, and you saw that early, and he's been consistent with it this year. And so we've voted on captains in the past, leaderboard, all that stuff, and this year, everybody self-proclaimed Zion is cap. Everyone calls him the captain, and so we didn't even have to vote for it, and he's taken on that role. And that's bigger than basketball, too. I mean, that's bringing the right energy to practice every day. That's having tough conversations with your teammates when they're not doing what they're supposed to do. And so really, really proud of Zion on and off the court.
We got a busy week here this week. You're in action tomorrow night against the Rockhurst Hawks. We've been facing Rockhurst each of the last few years. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock from the Missouri Western Fieldhouse, and then go to Russellville, Arkansas to take on Arkansas Tech out of the Great American Conference. That's a Friday night, 7 o'clock game. Starting with Rockhurst, they're 2-1. They just lost to Washburn, a top 10 Washburn team over the weekend. And then Arkansas Tech, 2-1, and they own wins over MIAA members Missouri Southern and Newman. And Tech, their only loss was to a ranked Dallas Baptist team over the weekend. Certainly we're familiar with Rockhurst. I can't tell you the last time we've played Arkansas Tech. Haven't dug that far yet, but what are your thoughts on these opponents here?
Well, we can't start the way we did against Maryville and expect to beat Rockhurst. I know that. So Weston Smith's scout better be pretty good. He's in attendance today.
Oh, yeah.
Rockhurst is a little different than they've been in the past. I think they're a little more talented. They play extremely physical, and they can shoot the ball really well. And so we have to be locked into our matchups. We got to be locked into our coverages and our rotations on defense. We have to do a much better job of sprinting back and building a wall in transition. I felt like the Maryville game, I had unfortunate flashbacks to Lubbock Christian just in terms of our slow reaction time to get back and build a wall. You can't do that against Rockhurst and expect to win, because they'll hit 15, 23s on you. And so we got to be locked in not only to the scout, but in terms of what we do. And then against Arkansas Tech, that's a little further down the line on Friday. But, they're a top 25 team, and they are extremely well coached. They have a coach that used to coach in the MIAA that we respect a lot, and they're tough to beat at home. And so right now we're focused on having a great practice today, being ready for Rockhurst, making sure that we protect Looney, which is a huge rally cry for us this year, and then we'll move on to Ark Tech. But both are going to be formidable opponents. Both are extremely well coached, have a lot of talent, and have guys on their roster that can beat you if you're not ready to go.
Yeah, I kind of overlooked that. The Arkansas Tech preseason ranked number 24. They were 25-7 last year. Mark Downey is their head coach as well, entering his fifth season there for a team that won the GAC Tournament Championship just back in 2023. So, yeah, they've been having some success down there at Arkansas Tech for sure. Coach, anything else before you embark on the week ahead here?
No, we're locked in, and appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thanks. We'll see you down there tomorrow. There's Will Martin, men's basketball head coach, as the Griffins continue. Pretty good start, 4-1, winners of 4 straight, and facing Rockhurst for I think it's like the 3rd or 4th year in a row, and then facing Arkansas Tech, a good challenge out of the Great American Conference. One Griffin that's certainly familiar with Arkansas Tech would be our very own Zane Nelson. He saw them a lot in his playing days at Arkansas Monticello. We'll take a break. Still got to talk football with head coach Tyler Fenwick, so we'll do that here in just a few minutes. Stay with us. It's the Griffin Sports Insider Podcast from Hi-Ho Bar and Grill. Continuing on from the Griffin Sports Insider Podcast, live at Hi-Ho Bar and Grill, I'm Tommy Rezonch, now pleased to be joined by the head coach of Missouri Western football, Tyler Fenwick. The 2024 season officially in the rear view, and ends on a high note for sure, taking on a non-conference team in Quincy on Saturday at Spratt Stadium. 18 seniors honored on senior day. 31-16, of course, the final. The Griffins with the second half shutout and a great performance from the run game. But that said, Coach, on the other side of that coin, probably not the prettiest game with 10 penalties, 6 turnovers, but you survive. You hold them off. Any chance they had to get back in that game, we were able to salt it away in the fourth quarter. Some stuff that, kind of haunted us before earlier in the season, but some great encouraging things as well as we look to the future.
Yeah, I mean, it was a frustrating game. Obviously, the first half was, we were keeping us in the game.
Yeah.
But it was good to see our kids come out in the second half and put it together and extend the lead. And I mean, I don't think we gave up any points in the second half.
Correct. Yeah.
Even the first half. I mean, it felt like we were, doing what we needed to do and doing what we wanted to do, and then turn the ball over. And so it just, we couldn't get out of our own way and kept the score close. And but yeah, again, second half, it was good to see us. It was good to see us, commit to running the football. Playing physical, it was good to see our running backs get the production that they did and get out in the open field and do some things with that, and maybe give us some confidence going into the off season.
Yeah, Jaden Williams, Morrell Fountain, Ricky Dunn, kind of career days for all of them in certain categories. And to start the day with a strip by Jaden Brown, then the fumble return by Keenan Gaskin, I mean, that had to give the sideline lots of juice.
Yeah. I mean, it was something we definitely needed that, and those, anytime you can get a defensive touchdown, that's always a good thing. And but there was some things. We had the onside kick that surprise onside kick, but we gave it right back to him. So it's like you feel like you steal a position, but then you give it right back, and just can't do that. But those are opportunities. You only get so many drives, and so if you can steal a drive, then you should be able to extend it even more.
Yeah.
And those are things that's held us back. Things like that have held us back all year.
Yeah, it took us entirely by surprise. Perfect onside kick by Mason Grove, who essentially sacrificed his body to knock that ball free on the field.
Yeah.
And Brock Worcester picking it up.
Yeah.
Back on the offensive side, Brandon Burwald, I think you would probably tell you, probably his first, really rough game with the turnovers. Two of them, tipped into the air circus plays. Those two early, probably a bit underthrown and things like that. And they limited his ability to run somewhat in that game, but bounced back beautifully with a 64-yard bomb to senior Tyler Carey. I guess, what were you kind of telling him? What were the conversations with QB1 on the sideline through those ups and downs?
Just, what are you seeing? How do you feel about this and how do you feel about that? He was playing with a banged-up shoulder, so I think some of those balls were probably underthrown. Yeah. Just he couldn't get enough on it. Had some big opportunities, things that were in the game plan that he checked to and were really good checks when he saw man-to-man or he saw blitz or whatever. And so from an IQ standpoint, you're sitting there going, okay, he gets it, he sees it. But then obviously not being able to execute it and I think, the wind being a factor and then the shoulder was, a little bit, took him pretty much all week to kind of get that loosened up from the previous week. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that, I think that when we go into the off season and we look at the body of work that he's put together and good and bad, and probably more so from this game with the interceptions, I think that, my experiences are that he's going to now be able to kind of let all of that soak in, and we're going to break down his play, the offense's play, and be able to kind of dissect it and learn from all those things and become even more comfortable. And the whole goal is by next season for our quarterbacks to truly become the coach on the field, where we can call a play and they know exactly what to look for and where to go with it. And the game just is supposed to slow down, and the game doesn't slow down until you have that experience, until you've gone through, the full speed of our conference and the full speed of see how things time up, and then being able to obviously take the off season and get on the same page with the receivers, because we're losing 4 senior receivers that, so we're going to have to make sure that those guys that build that chemistry between the quarterbacks and the receivers and getting on the same page and understanding, how they get in and out of breaks and how the balls are thrown and, all the things that goes into that. Like, that's going to be a big emphasis going into next year, because we're going to be, we're going to be similar receiver-wise where we were offensive line-wise this year. We had a bunch of new starters at offensive line this year. Next year we're going to have a bunch of new starters at receiver next year. So, it's just – that starts – starts now.
Yeah, started Saturday
going.
evening when you walked off the field. Yeah, Barry, Carey, Bennett, James, those 4 receivers, terrific guys. Obviously Bennett and James, 2 guys that have been here as long as I have, in some cases longer. So great to watch those guys each of these last 4
Good
years.
Careers.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, looking back on this, big picture, we talked about this, after the game. This season, it's one there's probably moments you'd like to forget, but an unforgettable year through all these ups and downs and the way how all these games were close and, we came up short and all that stuff. And it's easy to focus on the negatives and after a loss and all that stuff. But important to, look at, we're close. We're really close. One thing goes our way, we could be looking at different outcomes and all this. I think this program, people can see it. It's going places after, the spark last year and some good people on staff on this roster making things happen. So as much as you want to rectify the issues, and that's important, also important to remember that we're not far off, and I think folks would agree that I think we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
Yes, we are close.
Yeah.
But 4-7 is unacceptable.
Correct.
And that's what our kids need to understand going into the off season. That the things that are holding us back from winning those games are unacceptable. And those are the minor details of what it takes to win. And so that's what we have to get. We have to get our kids to understand is how to win and 10 penalties, we've got to learn how to block and not hold. We got to learn, how to not have an unsportsmanlike penalty. We need to learn. There's just so many things that are, behind the closed doors of this player being good, this player not being good. Whatever that is, what goes into a player being good, and what goes into an offense being good, a defense being good, and what goes into the whole team being good. And that's where we got to get to. And we've got some really good players that we got to replace. We got to find, where are we going to get the production from Jonas Bennett?
Yeah.
70 catches, almost 1,000 yards. That's we're going to have to find some guys that are able to make people miss and get open. And obviously we got Brandon Hall coming back.
That's great.
That's exciting. The offensive line is going to be better. We lose Brandon Johnson.
Yeah.
We lose ISO. Not much behind those guys, that have experience. So we're going to have to, recruit, and we're going to have to develop and, build the depth at some of those positions. And then, we had a lot of the redshirt freshmen that were playing this year. Brock Worcester and Drew Scott and Evan Williams and, all these guys that are young guys that are and they're making mistakes, and so they have to be able to take the next step and say, okay, I've already made those mistakes, and now I know how to play the game. Now I know what to expect. Now I know what the defense looks like. So there's just so much that goes into just interweaving this next team to be able to put ourselves in position to win the games that we need to win.
Absolutely. And I guess I'll just ask it right away. Who's the top candidate to replace Missouri Western's all-time field goal leader? I know you signed that really good – is it McWilliams from Tonganoxie? And then Mason Grove has been great as the kickoff kicker. Maybe it's way too early to be thinking about that.
Way too early.
If Cody couldn't have played on Saturday, who's that first guy taking the
field
goals?
Spencer would have been the guy kicking field goals.
Okay.
He's kind of our backup field goal kicker right now. And, we'll look at it's an open competition.
Sure.
And honestly, pretty much every position out there right now is an open competition.
Yeah.
Because when you're 4-7, you have to uncover everything, and you have to find, you got to find out, who's the best to put in those positions.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a clean slate right now. If you're coming out and you're 10-2 and you got everybody coming back, then you kind of know. We got a lot of guys coming back and we got a lot of start, but we're not. So it's pretty much every position is open. Every position is subject to a transfer coming in and taking a position, and that's if they're not listening right now, our players are going to hear that on Wednesday.
Yeah, transfers can come in before the spring or after, and they got spring and fall camp to try and work some of that out. And I guess just in closing, what's the biggest thing? What's the biggest thing you're looking for on the recruiting trail this offseason? There's lots of things.
There's lots of things, but we've got to replace some guys on the defensive line. We've got to get bigger on the defensive line. I think that's critical. You always want to bring in, some kind of a secondary player. We lose TJ Antonio Taylor in the secondary at safety. We lose Javarius McGuinn at corner.
Yep.
There's some young guys that we're hoping are going to step up, but I always feel like those are tough positions. The corner and safety are tough positions to find because everybody's looking for them. Offensive linemen are always hard to find. We'll look at some offensive linemen. We'll see if we can, if there's somebody that can, come in and compete, with the guys that have all the experience that we have, then we'll look at it. But everything, we're looking at everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So that'll be, the early signing periods next month, and then National Signing Day in February, and then you turn to March, and then it's spring practice, and before you know it, the Chiefs are back on campus, which means, we're off and running in 2025. Eyes to the future as 2024 in the rear view. Coach, win, lose, or draw, always a pleasure covering you guys. We'll see you down the road. All right, Coach Fenwick will join us for the panel, which is coming up next with Will Martin, Jessica Fye, and Jake Plocher here today. So stay with us. We'll wrap up the show next from Hi-Ho Bar and Grill. All right, we're back on the panel one last time with Coaches Martin, Coach Fenwick, Coach Plocher, and Coach Fye. And kind of want to pick up, coaches, a conversation we were just having about recruiting. We're kind of several years into this, transfer portal thing, and you no longer have to sit a year if you transfer, and now name, image, and likeness kind of trickling in. I guess I'm curious, coaches, some of you still in season, obviously, but whoever kind of wants to get the baton here, how has this new era of college athletics, I know we could fill a whole show on this, but just in short, how has some of these new rule changes and things impacted the way you go out and recruit?
I think Will Martin has great insight on this always.
Yeah. Moneyball, adapt or die. I mean, that's the world that we're living in, know, and I think that if you don't have a forward-thinking mind and you want to live in the past, you're going to become a dinosaur and die out really quick in this business. So I think that the portal's not going anywhere, name, image, and likeness is not going anywhere, and if you as a coach and an administration in a college aren't looking for ways to capitalize on that, you're going to be left behind. Yeah.
Coach Fenwick, just since you were the last guy up here, we talked a little bit, I think, this past week about, the differences of major D1 and D2. And, it seems like NIL's prominent at the highest level. They talk millions of dollars. But even in the MIAA now, some of the top programs, that's something we got to compete with now too, right?
It's out there, yeah, for sure. It's out there. And, at the Division II level, it's always been because you can break up scholarships, it comes down to money. It comes down to what do I have to pay out of pocket to go to this school, or what do I have to pay to go to this school? And that usually, the facilities and your personality as a coach and what kind of person you are, that all gets them in the door. But at the end of the day, it's, who's looking at, the cost.
Sure.
Now you throw NIL in there. And so, if you can't compete with whatever, you're going to lose a kid. Yeah. And so I know it's happening in the MIAA, not at the highest, like you hear about on ESPN and all that stuff with the big schools, but it's there, and they're all looking at all those things.
Yeah. Any thoughts from this side?
No, I would agree, and I think in our world, with kind of that transfer portal opening up today, it's big with trying to again find some players that are capable of helping. I think I saw a stat where last year there were like 2,000 soccer players that entered the portal, and I think only like 28% found a new place to play. Goodness. So it's tough, and you got to make sure that especially this year with kind of those roster imposed limits, and I think it'll be even more flooded, and so it's just a matter of again truly being able to do the research and find the right fits, and then on our end as coaches making sure that they're going to fit our culture and what we're needing and wanting, and we rely a lot on our current players who maybe have those connections or know some players to be able to help kind of fill out and build that roster.
Yeah.
We typically don't have a ton of success in the portal. Early on we would, and then one D1 school comes along and gives someone attention, and they're like, "Oh, screw you," So that's just kind of the world that we live in with volleyball. And I think the numbers are very similar to what women's soccer is. Like, so many kids are entering the portal, and not very many of them they're finding a home. So sometimes the grass isn't always greener for kids that are entering. But like it is, it's the way of it, and hopefully as time goes on and we see more success, we're able to at least add a couple if we need to each year from it. But so far, we haven't we haven't dabbled too much in it and haven't really felt the need to either. So
yeah, I mean, I was just going to say your senior class, people that have been here 4 or 5 years that have stuck it out, and a lot of programs are still trying to do it that way and build it up that way. And there's the great debate. It's like, do you Deion Sanders it and go to the portal, or do you, just do the developmental route? So an interesting thing to follow. And I know all of our admin staff, it's like you follow the trends at D1, and sooner or later it'll trickle down to this level.
Yep.
In closing, coaches, we're talking to postseason. The soccer bracket will be filled tonight. Volleyball next week. Football filled their bracket last night. Regionalization often gets criticized at this level. We know why we have to do it. It's travel, it's expense, and all that. But when our women's basketball team finished third in the league, 24 wins in 23, and got left out, we're kind of left going, well, is this really the best? I'm just curious, and this could be a fun thing or it could be like a legit argument. If you could change the postseason selection process for your respective sport at this level, what would you do differently, if anything?
Everything differently.
Everything, yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
I think if anything, maybe like the super regional, where at least you can be paired up a little bit better. Like I saw the football ones, and it's crazy how the MIAA is basically stacked up to, again, fight, go after each other, and whether there's 3 or 4 teams in that, basically top 15 or so. Like it's crazy.
Well, when Harding and Grand Valley played in the playoffs last year, everyone's like, that's the national championship right there, and Harding went on to roll the opposite side of the bracket. Coaches?
Yeah, I'm on. I vote for top 25 every week. And then I sit there and I look at the playout and I'm going, well, wait a minute, why do we even vote for top 25?
The national poll's a joke. Like, it doesn't even do anything.
Yeah, so that's a little bit confusing, and I think that they need to take that top 25 and say, okay, there's your playoff teams. Yeah.
But I even think regionalization, can be a lot of opinion to it too, and just sway when the numbers are in front of you. This team's clearly ahead, but this coach is on the panel. It's like, oh, they got in somehow. You're like, oh, wait, how the hell did that happen? Happened in our region last year. And so I think the NCAA needs to start caring a little bit more about Division II athletics. I would love to know how long regionalization has been the path for postseason. And it's like we were just talking about evolving with the times. Well, I think Division II athletics has come a really long ways, and we're very competitive, sometimes more competitive than the smaller Division I schools. So I think it's time that we get a little bit of respect and maybe a little bit more money to our postseason, to the teams that actually deserve it.
Yeah, well said. Will, any thoughts there?
We don't have enough time for my
You need like a whole 2 hours for
Fair
a real
enough.
postseason.
Well, coaches, I always enjoy picking your brains on that stuff. So thanks so much, and good luck to those of you competing this week.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for the time. Thanks, coaches. There you go, rounding out our roundtable. We call it the roundtable of irrelevancy, but those 2 topics today felt pretty relevant. So, we like to have fun up here, but good to have some intellectual discussion. Thanks to all of our coaches. Thanks to Cole Weiberg, Connor Peters on the cameras, Rick Leahy, our audio engineer, and our great host, Hi-Ho Bar and Grill. Thanks for those of you coming out in person. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the Griffin Sports Insider Podcast on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you podcast. Quick housekeeping item. We're not here next Monday, the 25th, taking that off as the Thanksgiving holiday approaches. We'll be back with you Monday, December 2nd. So, make a note, tell Siri to remind you, whatever. So, no show next Monday, back Monday, December 2nd. Until next time, I'm Tommy Rezach. Thanks for listening. So long, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, week, whatever. So long.